Good morning, and welcome to Judging by the Cover. Now, I am going to preface this with a little disclaimer, and I'm going to be trying to use some euphemisms to try and avoid, getting whatever kind of flags we might have to deal with, since I do prefer to record these in one shot. So, disclaimer out of the way, you shouldn't do drugs, drugs are bad, okay? Okay, so, just getting that out of the way. Also, make sure you apply to your local laws and stuff so that you don't get into trouble when you're dealing with stuff like this. And moving on to the review, we are looking at Schedule 1. This was recommended to me by a buddy of mine, not necessarily to go and buy and play and all that, but to at least look at. It is in early access. It's brand new. Came out this year, just like less than 2 months ago. As far as early access, it came out. So it's interesting. The arts and the graphics definitely appear very simple, like almost Lego-esque as far as the character models, I would say. But that said, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It does give the game a kind of goofy look, and even though it does look kind of low budget, the low budget thing on top of having its own charm to it gives it a kind of goofiness that's maybe makes it a little more palatable, or so that you can enjoy and just have a good time with it. You're not taking everything too seriously. Things are very boxy with like rounded character models, but again, it kind of has its own charm. And because of that, they were probably, I'm sure that saving the money on that graphic side of things let them focus on the gameplay and making sure that their game was, much more functional and working, and that it was enjoyable, that it's a fun experience to play, even with the simplified graphics. And like I said, simple graphics is not a bad thing. I personally like games with like older graphics, or even you go back old pixel art games. Some of my favorite games are from back in the day, before we had all of these like hyper realistic photo style graphics. Now those can be good, they can look really good and gorgeous, but sometimes the stylized look of something like the city and the cars and stuff, yeah, they're all blocky and kind of grid layout kind of thing, but it makes it so that it makes the world a little easier to, envision and digest and navigate, a lot of times. So the game is in early access. And now one might ask, what is the point of it? And apparently, so it came out March 24th, and apparently April 7th and April 10th, it got some other updates. So we're a couple of versions in where they pawn shops and fancy stuff getting added. So, updates are coming in, to add things and to make sure it's fine-tuned and all that. Like I said, it is early access, but it looks like the developers are actively working on it, considering, less than a month ago, we had some updates come in, which those updates came in, it looks like, just a couple weeks after the initial release of early access. So what is the game about? Schedule 1 materials are defined as materials with no currently accepted medical use and high potential for abuse. So they do put that disclaimer in their own game title, letting you know that, like, yes, this is a game about certain things that, we're not endorsing the use and manufacture and trade of things, but they are very clear this is a video game for video game purposes. You are a small time, euphemisms, distributor rolling into a fresh town with no cash, no product, and no connections. Build your empire from the ground up in the grungy West Coast city of Highland Point. Get it? Highland. Contend against intensifying law enforcement and deadly cartel competitors to expand your empire and reach the peak of the underworld. So, you get I imagine it's some Grand Theft Auto vibes. Now, This is going to sound sacrilege as a gamer, but I do not have a lot of experience or background with Grand Theft Auto. I am aware of its history and popularity and everything. It's just I've never taken too much to it. But the storylines and stuff do revolve around um, from what I understand, they do around revolve around people in certain illegitimate trades and practices, which again, it's the game developers crafting these worlds and these storylines surrounding these things, but it doesn't necessarily endorse or glorify them. So we produce a range of materials to satisfy your customers, each one with its own unique production process. Discover special recipes to create new variants with special properties. Oh, so they're going full. Oh my gosh, what was that really popular TV series that where that was like a chief thing of the series was like a dude made a special new variant of a product that became like a huge moneymaker and got him in all sorts of trouble with, you know, rival producers and all that. You walk, skate, or drive throughout skate. So you can skate through Highland Point. I wonder that might be kind of an interesting thing is just to be as low budget as possible and like be a skateboard distributor even when you become like a massive kingpin or something. To get product into the hands of customers, hire merchants to handle distribution for you. Yep. So just like other kinds of market progression games, you start off with almost nothing and you have to kind of build up to the point of unlocking things. So, like the TCG card shop simulators or any kind of shop simulator really, where you have to it's basically a progression grind to unlock things and to unlock hired hands to make the game easier and like larger scale. But with a charming, simple graphic coat of paint, and a theme of stuff. You purchase new properties and hire employees to expand the scope and scale of operations, work with suppliers. So again, like just like those other games, you gradually build on it to make everything kind of function on its own so that you try and make it a little more hands off as you go. You work with suppliers to build a fully automated production distribution chain. This is a dangerous line of work where you contend with increasing law enforcement as well as cartel competitors, fight with fists, melee weapons, or firearms. Ah. Again, like it might be, I wonder if it would be interesting to go like kind of low budget and not do, pews at all and just go like, I'm just going to go bare knuckle into every situation kind of thing and see how long you last. A growing empire needs skilled management, reach new heights in co-op multiplayer. And now this is the thing. I think this is the thing that my friend that suggested I look at this really wanted to highlight on was the fact that it does have a co-op multiplayer to it. Um it depicts simplified production, distribution, and sale of extracurricular materials, and it also contains non-realistic violence in the form of melee and pew combat. Yeah, that makes sense. So, yeah, they're very upfront. Like this is about things that you probably shouldn't get mixed up with in the real world, but it puts it in like a goofy little graphical setting and has a multiplayer aspect so you can and have fun with your friends doing this, whether you want to actually go for the grind or whether you want to just go you know balls to the wall crazy and just be like, yeah, we are going to make absolute fools of ourselves here. That being said, it looks like it could be interesting to check out. What I Now, I don't know if this is the kind of game I would get for myself. It is on a $20 price tag right now at early access, which for early access, some people might think is a bit too much. Fields of Mystria, for example, I think is on like $11 or $12 early access, maybe 13, and the full release will probably see a little bit of a price increase. Um, but that said, depending on the amount of potential game there, $20 is not unreasonable, especially for something that you could easily put a lot of time into, especially when you have the option to play with friends. And I have personally found that when you're able to play with friends, like you can do your own solo single player campaign, but then doing things with friends just kind of opens up a lot of a lot of possibility for you all to just get goofy and enjoy that time together. So you could easily get your money's worth for a $20 value. I would personally wait for it to go on sale if I were to get it. I don't know, like maybe to $10 or so, just because of how much time and effort I think that I would personally have to apply to this. But if given the opportunity to like that, I might even, sit down with some friends and be like, hey, let's check this out. But of course, that would require that all of us felt the same way about getting it. Um, Even at early access, the video trailers and the screenshots, we do have some nice screenshots here. They do show us uh at least some of the progression. You got your plant, your little like blue light greenhouse over there. Um, we got what looks like rival traders coming onto your territory, so you've got to defend yourself. Um, Little shot of the city, which is that's a Pac-Man ghost on there. It looks like they do a little bit of nods to other gaming history and a nice little lighthouse back there. I wonder how much of the world is actually explorable, or if you're just kind of bound to this little block area, or if you can actually get up into the woods there. Which, considering that the trailers do show a Winnebago as probably one of your primary production points early in the game, um, might be kind of interesting to see, like, if you can go out into the woods or into the wilderness to do where you have some of your operation working. We do see police chases going on. We have an actual, and this right here kind of highlights another one of the things about the simple, goofy charm to it. The characters' models and especially their faces just strike me as weird. They have like these absolute like derp levels of face where yes, they look flat, they look overly simple, and I know that that could turn off a lot of people that want amazing, gorgeous graphics. Um, but honestly, like we look at this and we see a simple, goofy face, and then we see like the texture on the wall here being like having clearly a lot more work put into it than the character models. But again, I don't see that as a bad thing. The goofy looking characters can absolutely be a point of charm for the game. And I kind of, even without having actually played it, the character models, their movements, their faces, it's already grown on me as something that's like, I would not mind looking at these goofy things for, hours on end while playing this. You could probably just get a lot of jokes and laughs out of like, oh my gosh, look at this guy's stupid mug, which probably also makes it easier to defend yourself against them when it's like, yeah, you know what, you just have the most punchable face. Again, not endorsing any real world uh, aggression or anything like that. Just keep it in the game world. We do see a very done up operation here with you got warehouse shelves, although I wonder how they get to the stuff in the middle of those shelves. They're kind of all crunched together. We got gambling, of course, because gambling is probably also a part of this. Where so despite the trade and everything being the main focus, they also have some screenshots and some stuff in the trailer showing that you have to wash your funds. Um, and a gambling parlor is probably one of the things that do that. So that you have money coming in and out, so that everything kind of gets washed in that process. It makes the money harder to trace as far as where you got it from. We do have tables full of the goods. We got our little chemist lab here. Business management on the computer. Now, I would wonder how much computer stuff a professional trader would use. Like, yes, it would make things a lot easier to manage as far as the logistics of everything, but at the same time, it also creates a record that could be like hacked or pulled for other things. We have a little auto dealership and gas station. I wonder if the auto dealership is another one of those possible fund washing operations. And okay, straight up like text messages, because as a famous line once said, he don't like to be on the phone, so I text him. Anybody who gets that reference, drop in a comment below. We have another shot of one of the operation warehouses. We got like a little chem lab, the blue light greenhouse, and the distribution tables going on. Everything going on. Shred Shack. Oh, that must be your skateboard stuff. Yeah, I see skateboards in the back and Bud's Bar. So, we got all of these other stores, and that's uh that's a penis. Yeah. So, police, body search in progress. Now, I do appreciate that they show a loading bar for the body search and they don't actually show the body search because that would instantly kind of mess up the rating of the game, which is probably already intended for mature audiences only. And maybe I'm not the person for that because I am by no means mature enough to deal with this material. We got your moto. Cuke? Okay, the off branding in here, the off branding in here, immaculate. And I immediately like the off branding, the Cuke, the motel, and all that. We got your hiring board because, of course, for games like this, you have to be able to hire staff, and it very clearly labels, how much you got to pay them and what all their job is. And again, the faces, like their faces, just look absolutely ridiculous. Another shot of warehouse. Again, the off branding, the taco ticklers here, like, I take it back. This was not made for mature audiences. For this was made for grown children. A shot out in the dusty desert with the Winnebago. Okay, so yeah, you probably do have now. I would wonder if like this is like an open world situation where you can drive out to these places, or if it's just select location and go through loading screen to get there. Um, we got the Winnebago operation, probably one of your earliest things. I would imagine. At least that would make sense to me. Altogether, I would say I'd rate this an easy 6 out of 10. I know that's not incredibly high, and I know, if you look at like Metacritic scores, like anything below, 7 or 8 is considered like bad. But I'm going to call it a 6, and that's not a bad thing. I'm saying that that's a good thing. It's not something that I would pick up immediately myself. I would definitely have to wait for it to go on sale just because of other projects that I constantly have going on, plus work, family life, and all that. It would be something that's like I might be able to do a couple of little sessions on. I don't know how much I would actually get out of it. Um, but easily something that, if you like the motif and if you're a fan of Grand Theft Auto, but you want like a lower budget, silly type of situation of it that's a little maybe more open-ended, like a farming or a shop simulator, then a Grand Theft Auto would go. It could be a really good time, especially if you've got some friends together that also have it, and have some fun together. In fact, with friends, it'd probably bump up to a 7, I would think. That said, that is my analysis of Schedule 1. Early access is available on Steam. Um, if anybody out there has experienced this, like has played it or watched any other streams or anything of people playing it, let me know what you all thought. I am interested to see like what people have to say. My analysis here is again because this is judging by the cover only on the store page of the game, and the store page does a really good job. In fact, I would say the store page is a 10 out of 10 for what it is presenting, for what it's telling you about the game. They put together exactly what you can expect from it. It very much feels like you look at this and you know what you're getting. As far as the game itself, my never played this before, barely looked at it. Score of it is going to be a 6. Again, just because I don't see myself getting this unless it goes on sale and unless I have some friends telling me, "Hey, let's get together and play this like co-op or something." Um, just because doing solo, I feel like I probably wouldn't get into it as much because I'm not as big of a fan of the material, but the social aspect of it could 100% make it a better experience in my book. Just for the sake of friends being goofy, ripping on each other, and all that kind of thing around the atmosphere. So that said, thank you again for anybody that's joined us for today's episode of Judging by the Cover. I do hope you all have a wonderful day, safe week, and once again to parrot what I started this episode off with. Um, don't do drugs. Drugs are bad. Okay.